Hello, and welcome to everyone joining us here today. My name is Kelly Galloway Seelock, and I'm the Ward 5 Counselor for the City of Kitchener, and I will be emceeing today's announcement. It is a pleasure to be here with everyone today for this very, very exciting announcement. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that today we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, Inuit in Kitchener today. I would like to announce today's speakers. Representing the Government of Canada, we have Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, the Honourable Catherine McKenna, and Member of Parliament, Tim Lewis from Kitchener-Conestoga. Representing the Province of Ontario, we have the Minister of Infrastructure, the Honourable Laurie Scott, and Member of Provincial Parliament, Mike Harris from Kitchener-Conestoga. Finally, representing the City of Kitchener, we have Mayor Barry Verbanovic. Also on the call, we have my City of Kitchener colleagues. We have Councillors Scott Davey, Dave Schneider, Christine Michaud, Paul Singh, Margaret Johnson, Debbie Chapman, and Sarah Marsh. We also have joining us today, Regional Councillor Tom Galloway. We also have other members of Parliament joining us, including MP Brian May and MP Raj Saini. And other members of Provincial Parliament include MPP Amy Fee. We are also pleased to have joining us today Ron Schlegel, the founder of RBJ Schlegel. Ron's generous contribution to help with the park has made the park a big success. I'd also like to acknowledge that we have members of the Kitchener corporate leadership team, city staff, and the media present with us here today. Once again, thank you and welcome to everyone watching and listening to this announcement. We are all very excited and about to hear the good news of our announcement today. I will now first call upon our first speaker, MP Tim Lewis, to say a few words.
Thank you, Councillor Galloway Seelock, and hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Federal Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, and my colleagues MP Raj Saini from Kitchener Centre and MP Brian May from Cambridge. And I'm also glad to be joined by the Honourable Laurie Scott, Ontario's Minister of Infrastructure, Mike Harris, Member of Provincial Parliament for Kitchener-Conestoga, and Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, and Barry Verbanovic, Mayor of Kitchener, and also many multiple municipal and regional councillors. So thank you all for being here today. For nearly a year now, we've stood strong. We've faced challenges together during this COVID-19 pandemic. All levels across government are working together to reduce the impact of the pandemic, to support communities, and most importantly, to support Canadians. The project we're announcing today is going to have a positive impact on residents, not just in Kitchener, but across Waterloo Region and surrounding communities. And strategic investments in communities and cultural infrastructure are critical to building the communities where residents can thrive. Modern, accessible recreation spaces provide Canadians with places for physical activity and greater social inclusion. It's where people can connect and learn and share common experiences. And now more than ever, we need to ensure that these spaces are conducive for safe gatherings. We know that staying active and healthy is an essential part of our mental and physical wellness. And that's why today's project is a welcome investment for our Kitchener community. So to tell you more, I'd like to now call upon my friend and colleague, Minister McKenna, to provide remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada. Minister McKenna.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. You've been such a champion for Kitchener-Conestoga, but also for the community. And of course, I'm delighted to be joined by some great colleagues. We've got Raj Saini from Kitchener Centre and Brian May from Cambridge. We have a great team. And you don't get things done without working with different levels of government. So it's been always great to be working with Minister Scott, Ontario's Minister of Infrastructure. We've done a lot together, getting shovels in the ground and getting things built. Also, it's great to have MP Mike Harris here. And of course, my favorite mayor for today. I have to be very careful when I say these things. Mayor Barry Verbanovic, we've done a lot together. So, and all your councillors. So thanks very much. for joining. And I'm coming to you from the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. And you can see infrastructure does change over time because I have a turn of the 20th century Algonquin birch bark canoe, which is certainly the way some folks got around and some folks still do. And our partnership with Indigenous peoples is incredibly important to us. Well, I mean, as Tim spoke about, it's been a really challenging time. There's no way of sugarcoating it. I think that we're all feeling more hopeful. I hope everyone is getting the vaccines when they can. Whatever vaccine you can get is a good vaccine, because we do need to get out of this. And the federal government has really been committed to having everyone's back. By that, that's Canadians, that's Canadian businesses, that's cities, municipalities, that's businesses, that's not-for-profits. 80 cents of every dollar is being invested by the federal government to support you. In terms of my job, I also see it as getting shovels in the ground and getting things built, because we are not only in a health crisis, we're also in an economic crisis. The largest recession since the Great Depression. And part of the way we're going to get out of this is by building. And we say building back better, but that actually means improving the lives for people in communities across the country with what we build. And I'm happy to say that through the pandemic, we've approved more than 3,100 projects worth $8.6 billion in Canada. We've also doubled the Canada Community Building Fund, used to be called the Gas Tax Fund. That was $2.2 billion to support municipalities, including Kitchener, which received over $7 million in 2020. So I know the mayor will be happy to hear that we're doubling that. And then we announced the COVID-19 resilience stream. We need to adjust programs when you're in a situation like we are, which is the federal government investing 80 cents on every dollar in areas that we don't normally invest in. That's in schools. So we've worked with the province to improve ventilation, to invest in ventilation in schools across Ontario, and Waterloo Region school boards will receive over $34 million. We need our kids to be back in school. I say that as a mom. I really need my kids to be back in school. We also need them to be able to do that safely through the pandemic and beyond, which I know folks are working very hard on. But why are we here today? I feel like this is one of my favorite announcements. Recreation centers are critically important to building strong, inclusive communities where people want to live and where they want to raise their families. I'm an avid swimmer. If you don't know that, I talk about it a lot, and I miss it a lot right now. And I know how important rec centers are to offer a place to stay active, but it's also about socializing. It's about meeting friends. It's about building skills. It's also about improving both our physical and our mental well-being. I'm glad to see that, to hear that Ron Schlegel is here, and thank you to you and for your leadership on this. And that is why I'm so pleased to announce today that the federal government is contributing over $9.7 million, almost $10 million, to build the RBJ Schlegel Aquatic Center in the city of Kitchener. Don't worry, I will be there one day and I will do a cannonball into the pool. Happy to race anyone. I'll just be delighted to be there. Un petit bout en français, les centres de loisirs jouent un rôle important dans l'établissement de collectivités fortes et inclusives où les gens veulent vivre et élever leur famille. Étant une nageuse passionnée, je suis parfaitement consciente que ces installations constituent un endroit sûr où l'on peut socialiser et rester actif, ce qui, nous le savons, est essentiel à notre bien-être physique et mental. C'est pourquoi je suis très heureuse d'annoncer aujourd'hui que le gouvernement fédéral versera presque 10 millions de dollars, 9,7 millions de dollars pour construire le centre aquatique RBJ Schlegel à Kitchener. Les centres de loisirs jouent un rôle important dans l'établissement de collectivités fortes et inclusives où les gens veulent vivre et élever leur famille. I know we'll hear more about it, but I'm very excited to hear that it's a fully accessible 8-lane, 25-meter-long pool and a warm leisure pool with water features for all swimmers to enjoy. It's also going to have community use, multi-purpose rooms. universal change rooms, social spaces, food and beverage services. So I know this is something that the residents of Kitchener and beyond will enjoy for many years to come. I have always said that the investments we make need to have multiple outcomes. We're investing taxpayer dollars, and that means we need to create jobs and grow our economy, which we are certainly doing here. We have to improve the quality of life for everyone, and we need to build inclusive communities. So congratulations to everyone. And this is part of our plan. You would have seen Budget 2021 that is focused on conquering COVID-19 in the short term, and we will do this, punching our way out of the COVID-19 recession in the medium term, and building a more resilient Canada, more equitable, more prosperous, and cleaner. That's everything from accessible and affordable childcare to helping businesses survive and thrive past the lockdowns and into the future, helping tourism businesses recover and support festivals and cultural events, and of course, tackling climate change. And I will end with that because we figured out how to tackle COVID-19. We didn't think that we would get a vaccine. And guess what? By listening to science and scientists, by working together, by having a clear vision, and by partnering with the private sector, municipalities, different levels of government, and with all Canadians, we're getting through it. We're going to do the same thing for climate change. So keep on bringing forward your ideas for investment. We're here to build Canada up, and we're here to build it back better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister McKenna. I would now like to introduce our next speaker, MPP Mike Harris, to say a few words.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Galloway-Sealock. And obviously, it's a pleasure to have Minister McKenna here with us today. And of course, my good friend, the Honourable Laurie Scott, who is our province's Minister of Infrastructure. And I know that a lot of the local colleagues have already been talked about here, so I'm not going to go through the whole list, but of course a hello to MP Lewis and of course my colleague MPP Amy Fee. We've got obviously quite a large gathering of Kitchener and regional councillors here as well, so great to see them, and the list goes on. And of course Mayor Verbanovic, always a pleasure to see you, sir. And I know we are all very, very excited. Certainly I am, about making this announcement here today in Southwest Kitchener. This part of our region is growing very quickly as more families, including my own, are calling it home. And with that growth comes demand for more recreational amenities. When RPJ Schlegel Park officially opened last September, it was a game changer for local residents. Parents and kids have enjoyed the new playground, and it will be great to see the turf fields put to good use, hopefully in the very near future. And none of this could have been possible without the support of our local partners at the City of Kitchener, and of course the Schlegel family. And I'm so glad that Ron's here on the call with us today. As a father with young children, I know how important having a place for them to run and play close to home is for their well-being. So when Mayor Barry and Councillor Galloway-Sealock shared the plans for this park and its future expansion with me a few years ago, I was more than happy to throw my support behind it. And with their advocacy and the endorsement of Minister Scott, we pushed this forward and got it on the radar of our federal colleagues. This has been a journey, and it has taken the entire community of dedicated, hardworking people and the cooperation of all levels of government to make it happen. I'm really looking forward to seeing residents enjoy all the park currently offers, and of course what we're going to be discussing here in the very near future, especially with the new addition that will be getting underway with the support from this announcement. Today is a big step towards building a modern recreational space that is designed with all members of the community in mind. And with that, it is my honor to introduce someone who knows just how important facilities like these are to our local communities, the Honourable Laurie Scott, Minister of Infrastructure.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for that introduction. And I'm very thrilled to be with you this afternoon with Amy Fee from our government to make an exciting community infrastructure announcement for the Kitchener area. So can I dive right in to it? Use a few puns here. but more than $8.1 million in provincial funding is being allocated to the construction of the RBJ Schlegel Aquatic Center in Kitchener. And I thank Ron for being here and representing the family and the great contributions you've made to the community. This funding will help build an enhanced aquatic center with an 8-lane, 25-meter-long pool with within a comprehensive facility. You've already said Minister McKenna is going to gladly come and swim there. Once completed, the new aquatic center will provide greater access to recreational facilities and services for members of the Kitchener community to lead healthy and active lifestyles. This is in addition to our recent announcement of over $1.4 million in provincial funding to support important upgrades to the center in the Square Theatre, as well as more than $5.8 million in provincial funding for 10 revitalization projects in southwestern Ontario, including 3 projects in Kitchener. As the COVID-19 pandemic has clearly highlighted, investments in the health and wellness of Ontarians is more critical than ever. The 2021 provincial budget, released in March, builds on our government's record investments made in response to the global pandemic to protect people's health and our economy. Ontario's COVID-19 action plan now totals $51 billion, supporting recreational infrastructure projects like the one we're announcing today will directly benefit local people and families by creating a hub that can accommodate the increasing needs in this growing and rapidly expanding community. And I know Amy Fee and Mike Harris have many children among them, so they will be enjoying this. And I'm delighted that Kitchener residents and visitors will benefit from our joint investments together. We're rebuilding the economy, creating healthy and safe communities across Ontario. And I want to thank Kitchener Mayor Barry Rabinovic for his leadership in the community, his feedback on the projects that are important to his community, and our ability to all work together with our federal partners to make this meaningful project for the people in this community a reality. So I know Minister McKenna and I have the privilege of making lots of happy announcements together. So I'm hoping we will continue that process weekly. It seems almost daily, Minister McKenna. So thank you so much. And I'll pass it back over, I believe, to our MC, Kelly.
Thank you very much, Minister Scott. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, the City of Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, and Minister McKenna, Minister Scott, MPs, MPPs, council colleagues, staff, and reps from the region and others who are on the call. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will say to, in particular, the 2 ministers, you are both more than welcome in our community any day, but particularly when you bring this kind of great news that we've been working hard on for a long period of time, and know that it's going to be so well received in our community, particularly as we look to come out of the pandemic in the coming months, and people look to start enjoying our recreational facilities more and more. You know, before I go on into my official comments, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity in particular to thank all of our local MPs and MPPs for the incredible spirit of collaboration that exists between our orders of government here in Waterloo Region, their regular meetings with us, particularly during COVID. But in particular, when it comes to this project, to acknowledge both MP Lewis and MPP Harris for the champions that they've been for us with respect to this important project. And of course, our 2 ministers, Minister McKenna and Minister Scott, we are thrilled, knowing particularly how busy your schedules are, that you were able to take the time to join us for this important announcement. But this announcement is really one of several that we've been fortunate enough to receive. And you know, when we look at the Investing in Canada funding that has seen both federal and provincial orders of government working together. We've seen investments in our trails, in the center, in the square, in the museum. all buildings that the city owns. And this has been tremendous for our community. And I know, Minister McKenna, you weren't able to join us about a year and a half ago, but the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund that saw 49.99 million come to the city to deal with our stormwater management utility and so on is well received and is doing great work that ultimately is going to make the environment in our province and our country, and most importantly in our community, that much better. So thank you to both of you for your ongoing passion on behalf of cities and communities across Ontario and across Canada. RBJ Schlegel Park has been a long time in the making. As many here today recall, we gathered at RBJ Schlegel Park in September to celebrate the opening of phase 1 of RBJ Schlegel Park. And we're gathering today for this tremendous funding announcement of the Aquatic Center. And I'm absolutely thrilled that Ron Schlegel has been able to join us on behalf of the family. On behalf of my colleagues on Kitchener Council, the City of Kitchener, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Government of Canada and the Province of Ontario for your investments in municipalities across Canada, across Ontario, and specifically for your funding of the RBJ Schlegel Park Aquatic Center with almost $18 million, with the City of Kitchener contributing the remainder of over $6.5 million. Today's announcement is important for the growth of Southwest Kitchener and Kitchener as a whole, and for supporting residents in this area and overall in our region. Specifically, this investment is important because Kitchener is attracting new investments in residents from across the GTA and beyond. Waterloo Region is the second fastest growing metropolitan area in Canada. Southwest Kitchener is the fastest growing area in our region and is expected to double in population by 2041. And pre-pandemic, our city pools on average were at capacity with an average of 110,000 annual visits. Existing pools will not meet future growing demand, and this trend would only get worse if it wasn't for this new investment announced today in our aquatic center. So RBJ Schlegel Park as a whole is absolutely a needed recreational facility for our community, and especially for the residents of the southwest area of Kitchener. On top of that, this aquatic center is needed to support the growing community use of pools for people of all ages, of all abilities, and in an inclusive way, which Kelly will speak about in a little more detail. RBJ Schlegel Park is truly built to meet the needs of our growing community, and we're excited for residents and visitors to enjoy the park and now the future aquatic center for many years to come. We know the Government of Canada and the Province of Ontario are really doubling down on working directly with municipal governments to build better lives for Canadians and Ontarians, and we're pleased to have them as funding partners in the Aquatic Center. Coming out of this pandemic, these types of projects are critical to create jobs, grow our economy, and ensure that we build back better. This is truly a generational investment that we can all be proud of. I'd like to take a moment to also extend my sincere thanks to Ron Schlegel and his entire family. The Schlegel's legacy of city building has deep roots in our community. From the development of neighborhoods in Southwest Kitchener to long-term care and retirement communities and so much more, the Schlegels have long contributed to the health and well-being of our city. And with their generous donation of $2.3 million towards this park, they have ensured that the residents of Kitchener will continue to have access to first-class recreation and leisure facilities today and well into the future. Finally, I'd like to thank our council, our corporate leadership team, and all of the staff for being steadfast in their ongoing commitment to making investments in our community so that Kitchener is a great place to live, work, and play, and that continue to see this project move forward, particularly during the challenges of the past 14 months. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Ward 5 Councillor and my friend, Councillor Kelly Galloway Seelock. Kelly was first elected in 2006 and has been a tireless advocate for her constituents And without her perseverance on bringing this much needed park to her growing ward, RBJ Schlegel Park would likely not be the outstanding park that it is today so far, and that we know it will become in the future. So thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you to both ministers, MPs, and MPPs, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. And now back over to Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor Verbanovic. As Barry noted, pool use is very high in Kitchener. Pre-pandemic, swimming and water sports are Kitchener's most popular recreation activities. And along with a growing and aging population, an aquatic center will be an increasingly important part of how our community stays healthy and active. As Minister McKenna mentioned, I'm now going to mention some of the incredible features in the aquatic centers, which will include an 8-lane, 25-meter pool tank and warm water leisure pool, a spectacular viewing area on deck and in gallery, fully accessible family and universal change rooms and washrooms, a dedicated accessible aquatic entrance, and community meeting rooms. We are really excited to get to work on planning and eventually building this aquatic center in the coming years. Once again, thank you to all the speakers today, Minister McKenna, Minister Scott, MP Lewis, MPP Harris, and Mayor Verbanovic for today's wonderful announcement and for this great partnership between the Government of Canada, Province of Ontario, and the City of Kitchener. With that, I will ask everyone to stay on the Zoom call. We will begin with media questions first, and then we will have a group picture afterwards for elected officials on Zoom. Bethany, I will turn it over to you to moderate for the media questions and answers.
Thank you, Councillor Galloway-Sealock. Okay, so we're going to turn over to the media now. Just a reminder that I'll call on you one at a time. Remember to unmute yourself as we can't see you. One question and a follow-up. And please direct your question to a specific person if you can, and keep it to the topic of this announcement. So this might just take a moment as we give people unmuting rights. So we'll start with Paula Duhatchik from CBC-KW. When you can, Paula, please go ahead with your question.
Could you perhaps, Minister Scott, clarify when construction is expected to begin and then when families might reasonably expect to start using the facility?
Well, we of course want things built as quickly as possible, but really, Mayor Verbanovic, I think that you're best suited to maybe answer that question on the ground there of what the possibilities are. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And this has obviously been a priority project for us. And with the funding now, staff will be continuing on, moving into the detailed design phase and so on of the building. And I believe that the Councillor Galloway-Sealock, help me here, I believe the ultimate timing is 2023, is it? 2025 actually is the ultimate timing when it'll be fully completed.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Do you have any follow-ups, Paula?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay, great. I will turn it over to Liz Montero from the Waterloo Region Record. Go ahead, Liz.
Hello there. Just to clarify, so does that mean the project is a total of 24.3 million then with the Fed money, provincial and together?
So as you know,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, as you know, Liz, the park is a comprehensive development with many different components. We opened the initial components last year, which included a playground, 2 artificial turf fields, a multi-purpose natural field and other amenities. Just last night, we actually approved the old historical house that's on the property being converted into bathrooms and change rooms for the facility. And then this would be the budget that's allocated for the swimming pool.
Any follow-ups, Liz?
No, so just to clarify, so the 24 million then is just for the aquatic center then? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The when we look at all of the various components for the park, we probably are investing about $40 million into the park, including the indoor turf that ultimately is part of a future phase as well.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Over to Casey Taylor from 570 News. Go ahead, Casey.
It looks like we may have just lost Casey on the line.
Oh, that's too bad. We'll give her a moment and see if she comes back. In the meantime, I will ask CTV if they have any questions. I'm not sure if it's just a camera or a reporter on. So go ahead, CTV, if you have any questions. So sounds like no questions. Any follow-up questions? Liz, I see you on the screen there. Do you have any further questions?
No, thanks.
Okay, and I think I'm just looking at the list. I believe Casey has not joined us, unfortunately, so I will follow up with her if she has any questions. So I think that's everything for today. We can stop the live stream, but just a reminder for everyone to stay on the call.